It started with a seed, not a packet, not from a store. Evan found it pressed into the mud beside the creek behind his house, half buried like it had been spat out by the earth itself. It was bigger than any seed he'd seen before, smooth, dark, almost glossy. When he picked it up, it felt warm. He told himself that was just the sun. Evan had always loved plants. His backyard was small, boxed in by a sagging wooden fence and leaning trees, but he'd filled it with pots, herbs, tomatoes, even a struggling lemon tree. Growing things made him feel steady, in control, so of course he planted it. He chose a wide clay pot and filled it with fresh soil. For a split second, he thought he felt it twitch. He covered it quickly. The next morning, the soil had cracked. A thin, dark sprout pushed up from the center of the pot. That wasn't possible. Nothing grew that fast. Evan crouched beside it, heart racing. The sprout was thick, almost fleshy. It glistened like it was damp, though the soil was dry. Lucky, he muttered. He watered it lightly. The sprout leaned toward him. He told himself that was normal. Plants lean toward light, toward heat. But he wasn't standing between it and the sun. By day 3, it had grown knee-high. The stem was thick now, veined with darker lines that pulsed faintly if he stared too long. Leaves unfurled slowly, stretching wide and glossy. Evan laughed nervously and snapped a photo for his group chat. No one replied. That night, he heard something scrape against the side of the house. He looked out the window. The plant had grown taller than the fence. Its leaves were folded inward, tight, like fists. The first smell came on the 5th day, sweet at first, floral, then sour, then metallic. Evan stepped outside with pruning shears. The plant was nearly 7 feet tall now. The stem had thickened into something closer to a trunk. At the top, a bulb had formed, a heavy, swollen thing that throbbed gently. He reached out to trim a leaf. The leaf curled around his wrist. Tight. He froze. Okay, he whispered, forcing a laugh. Very funny. The leaf tightened further. Tiny barbs pressed into his skin. He jerked back. The leaf released him instantly. The plant swayed. Not in the wind. There was no wind. That night, Evan dreamed of roots. He was buried up to his chest in soil. Something moved beneath him, brushing against his ribs, wrapping around his legs. He woke gagging. There was dirt under his fingernails. By the end of the week, the plant touched the roofline. The bulb at the top had split slightly, revealing something wet inside. It wasn't petals. It was layered, like folded muscle. When Evan stepped outside, the plant turned toward him. He didn't imagine that. The split bulb widened slowly. The smell was overpowering now, rotting sweetness that clung to his throat. Okay, he said aloud, backing toward the house. He grabbed a shovel. The first strike hit the trunk with a dull thud. The plant didn't move. The second strike split the outer layer. It bled. Thick, dark fluid oozed down the stem, steaming where it hit the soil. The entire plant shuddered violently. The ground shifted beneath Evan's feet. Cracks shot across the yard, radiating from the pot like spiderwebs. The clay shattered as something thick and pale forced its way upward. Roots. Not thin, fibrous roots. Massive, rope-like tendrils as wide as his arm. They writhed. The plant screamed. Not like metal, not like wind, like something tearing itself apart. The bulb at the top peeled open fully. Inside was a hollow cavity lined with glistening ridges. And at the center, teeth. Rows of small curved teeth spiraling inward into darkness. Evan stumbled backward, falling hard onto the grass. The roots burst fully from the earth. They wrapped around his ankle before he could stand. He clawed at the grass, screaming as he was dragged across the yard toward the open maw. His scream was swallowed. Weeks passed. The plant grew taller, thicker. The trunk hardened, bark forming over the slick surface. The maw at the top sealed partially, hidden behind layered growth. Only a thin slit remained. At night, it opened, waiting.